Hey travelers, Mag and I here on day 94 of our trip around the United States. This morning we're starting off from the very furthest northwest corner of the map in North Dakota. And if I thought the rest of North Dakota was lonely, I didn't know what we were in store for until we got up here. All the farmlands have all but disappeared. Now it's just rolling hills and grasslands, a few fracking sites, and beside that, there's really nothing out here at all. Right now we're sitting on the former site of Fortuna Air Base, which was in operation between 1951 and 1979, and still stands today as a reminder of the Cold War. From here, we've got another 400-mile day. We don't need any more of the counties and the pages anywhere in this northwest section of North Dakota. So rather than retreading ground we've already covered, we're going to pop west into Montana, and on the Montana side of things, we're going to proceed moving south along the northeast corner of the state, and we're going to spend about half of our day there before we pop back into North Dakota to finish our route for the day. As you and I both know, no matter where it is you go in the country, there are always little hidden gems to see and little things to discover. So we're going to find out exactly what those are. Come on, let's go explore the very top northwest part of North Dakota and the very top northeast part of Montana. Let's go! Located 4 miles west of the teeny tiny town of Fortuna, the retired Fortuna Air Base is the farthest north and west you can get in the state of North Dakota. From here, it's only 6 miles north to reach the Canadian border and a mere 15 miles west to reach Montana. At this point, you may as well be in Montana, though. All the farmlands have disappeared in favor of rolling hills and grasslands in every direction. The geocache listings make it obvious that not a lot of people make it up this way. Everything that I found this morning in the far northwest corner of North Dakota and the far northeast corner of Montana was lonely, meaning it had been at least a year or two since anybody else had been there. The little schoolhouse on the prairie. It seems to me that this schoolhouse has probably seen better days than it's seeing today. It looks like it is barely holding up on its foundation, surviving the test of time. Let's go take a closer look and see what it looks like. This lonely building on the plains of McElroy first saw its use over 100 years ago when it opened in 1916 as a community building. It also doubled as a schoolhouse for more than 33 years, staying in operation until 1949. Many of the original furnishings, including this old blackboard, still remain to this day. This is definitely the kind of place where you want to step carefully as the floorboards creak underneath you. But what an amazing opportunity to take a sneak peek into days gone by. I couldn't think of a better way to start our day in Montana. The biggest change of pace between North Dakota and Montana was definitely the landscape. While it does not take that long to grow weary of field after field in the flat landscape of North Dakota, I could stare out of the vistas of Montana forever. We were very fortunate that one of the first geocaches we did upon entering the state was an earth cache that taught us about how this land was formed. For thousands of years, northeastern Montana was covered under a massive sheet of ice. Glaciologists aren't sure why the ice ages began, but the process of glaciation is known because of the marked leaves in the landscape. About 190,000 years ago, glaciers pushed their way onto northern Great Plains of Montana from the north and the northeast. As the glacier moved south, it blocked the Missouri River, forcing it to seek an ice-free channel further to the south. The ice sheet lasted until about 130,000 years ago when it melted away. The ice left behind a radically changed landscape, dotted with small ponds and glacial till. Large boulders, known as erratics, now litter the plains in this area along with extensive gravel beds deposited by streams carrying debris off the glaciers. All told, this history of glacial activity in the area makes for beautiful viewpoints no matter where you drive through the state of Montana. And as you can tell from all these amazing viewpoints, we just could not get enough. When we reached Plentywood, the first place where we actually saw people today, the first thing we did was made our way over to Box Elder Lake. This beautiful 76-acre lake has picnic shelters all the way around that provide people the opportunity to enjoy a picnic while staying out of the cold winds. This is one of dozens of places we saw in Montana today where you could sit and enjoy the view and easily lose hours without even realizing it. Fortunately, I'm always paying attention to the clock, so we stayed to appreciate it for a few minutes and then we were back on our way again. The stretch of road between Plentywood and Scobey actually offered quite a few good geocaches to find along the way. In addition to those that were on our target list, we added several more that just looked like they'd be good old fun. In fact, most of the geocaches we found along this stretch were regular-sized containers that could hold a pretty good amount of swag. Walking through the quote-unquote forests here in Montana is a lot different than the forests we've been seeing in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Minnesota. Even the heaviest of bushwhacking is just not all that bad by comparison, making it that much easier to spot this 2-for-1 prize without an extensive hunt. Definitely quite a bit of good stuff in here. But wait, there's more. As if one logbook to sign wasn't treat enough, this one gives you a second logbook to put your signature on as well. When you open up what you're sure is a geocache container and see no logbook inside, at first you're disappointed. But wait, is that a magnet on the interior? That must be here for a reason, right? Let's see if we can use this magnet to reveal the logbook. Just use your tool to slowly feel along until you feel a connection. Oh, right there. With a gentle touch and a little bit of patience, you can get the logbook to reveal itself for you. Going up. I almost felt like this one was a magic trick. Our last stop on this short jaunt through Montana took place in Wolf Point, where we got to visit the old historic Lewis and Clark Bridge. This bridge straddles the Macomb and Roosevelt County lines, making it easy to pick up a geocache find on both sides simply by crossing the river. For many years, this was the only bridge over the Missouri River for 350 miles. Traffic changes eventually necessitated that this narrow bridge be replaced by a more updated structure. But its historical significance was recognized, and in 1998, the Montana Historical Society took control of it, for all to enjoy for years to come. We finally made it back to North Dakota, and man, what a wild ride through Montana that was. Just as the Native Americans would have done before us, once we crossed the river, we made our way to the Fort Union Trading Post. Built in 1888, the Fort Union Trading Post was the most important fur trading post on the upper Missouri River. Strategically placed, it is only 2 miles from the confluence of the Missouri River and its tributary, the Yellowstone River. Unlike today, it was one of the few places in the region able to acquire many manufactured goods or supplies that were desired. As a result, it provided a large breadth of goods and supplies, including fabrics, clothing, manufactured metal goods, tobacco, firearms, and luxury goods like beads, jewelry, and other such supplies. The fort became so much more than that, though. It was also a place of science, community, and creation. Several famous naturalists came to the fort to study native flora and fauna, documenting numerous species during their travels. The traders at the fort also fostered close ties with the American Indian tribes in the region. They intermarried not only for companionship, but also to create closer trading ties. When tribes would come to trade, they would spend time connecting with their families at the fort. This integrated many cultures together for mutual benefit to foster the flow of ideas and trade throughout the region. As you walk around the museum inside the fort, you can see many of these indications of the past history of trading scattered around. And they even have a huge pile of example furs where you can see the difference between beaver, bear, and other pelts. The grasslands of this region are brimming with grazing animals. We had the opportunity to see many of them up close today, and they seemed just as interested in us as we were in them. Many of the roads drove straight through the middle of the fields, so you had to proceed carefully to be sure you weren't going to get any cow on the car. But it was a drive that was well worth taking the time to do. Because not only did I get to enjoy seeing all this livestock, but Ai-chan got to get all the smells through the open window and on the main road. The cows were definitely the most familiar and the favorite for her. Gotta hand it to the cattle dog. Our daylight was quickly beginning to run out when we reached the Theodore Roosevelt National Park North Unit. Established in 1947 to memorialize President Theodore Roosevelt's cherished time in the North Dakota Badlands, the park not only recognizes the president's conservation ethic, but it also serves as a living reminder of the dramatic beauty found within unspoiled wildernesses. The scenic byway begins 15 miles south of Watford City from U.S. Highway 85. With over 82% of the north unit designated as a wilderness area, the Drive provides ample scenic views and opportunities for spotting wildlife all along the way. And the further we proceeded west into the park, the more beautiful it became inch by inch. The colorful and fantastic shapes along these canyon walls are part of an ever-changing landscape. The horizontal layers of multicolored sandstone, clay, and shale are complemented by scattered beds of lignite coal and patches of pastel pink scoria. While completing the earth caches here, we had an opportunity to learn about scoria, which is also known as clinker. It is created when soft lignite burns, baking the surrounding clay around it to turn that bright red color. We were also able to learn about the formation of cannonballs here. Unlike the erratics, they were not carried here by flowing water or glaciers. Instead, they were formed within the sediment layers of the Badlands. When mineral-rich water seeps down through porous layers that make up the Badlands, it can deposit in spaces or gaps in the sediments. The minerals act as a kind of glue, holding the sediments together or forming around a core. And through erosion, many fantastic samples have been uncovered to view here today. Of all the amazing places we've had an opportunity to tour through the United States so far, none have given us a better opportunity to get up close and personal with the wildlife as we have here in Theodore Roosevelt National Park. And while we have seen many beautiful views, few compare to what you can find out here along this scenic byway. I am just so grateful that we had just enough daylight to be able to end our day here with these fantastic views over the gorge. Because this is what geocaching on the road is all about. And I hope that you too one day get an opportunity to come view this in person, because it is spectacular. Well, travelers, that brings a swift end to our daylight for the day, and what an amazing day it turned out to be. I know we spent half of our day in Montana and half of our day in North Dakota, but it really feels like it was a Montana day. That very northwestern part of North Dakota, and really this central western part of North Dakota, both have a very Montana feel to the landscape, and the fact that the farmlands have given way to rolling grasslands. Instead of seeing crops, you're seeing a lot more grass areas for cattle to be able to eat and roam. We made it to Theodore Roosevelt Park with just enough daylight to be able to appreciate all the sights this place has to offer. By the time we hit the exit, that sun's going to be going down. I hope you've enjoyed all the great places we've seen today. This is just a preview of what's to come in Montana. We won't really be spending time there yet. We're starting to head south now from this very northern part of North Dakota. We're no longer going to be pushing west. But after winter ends, we're going to be swinging our way back up so that we can go through Wyoming, Missouri, Colorado, and all those states that we can't get to right now. And like this video, subscribe to stay tuned for daily updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.